Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. I just wanted to do a quick live stream. I don't have a regular video coming out today. Just it's been an interesting, several weeks. Just October was so wild and so crazy, chaotic, busy, and I'm trying to get back into a groove in November. I mean, it has now been 7 days, a full week of November, and I'm still not back in my groove. But I did want to do a quick live stream because I've been thinking about a couple things. Catch the buzzes here. I'm number one. I'm the one in the chat. Well, everybody make sure to subscribe to Catch the Buzz. She has a channel, so does Betty Horn. Betty Horn is here. Hello. So anyway, I have a couple thoughts I want to share, but we can talk about whatever. I'm probably going to go for about somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes. Jojo Lulu, I'm 2 or 3. Well, it looks like you're third, according to my chat window here. DD Stub, hi from California. Woo, 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 woo. Catch the buzz. I'm glad you're sitting down. Jared, Betty, and I are going to do a live stream together on Friday. Oh, you and Betty are going to do a live stream on Friday? That's great. That's really good. So I had just a couple things that I wanted to share. I've been thinking a lot lately about, when you're trying to do something good, you know, say that you're called to be bishop or elders quorum president, relief society president, primary president, something like that, or you're doing something outside of church. Maybe it's not even church related. Maybe you're trying to be of service. You're trying to serve others and do good, use your agency for good. And as you do that, you'll find that people attack you. They'll attack you. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? When you're trying to do something good and you're serving others, why do people attack you? And I have a couple ideas. So, number one, if you're experiencing this, um, it's most likely because the person that's attacking you feels insecure. Like you're doing something amazing, you're putting work and effort into something, and maybe they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to do the same work that you're doing. And so it makes them feel insecure. It kind of uh, puts a mirror to their face, and then they ask themselves, well, gosh, is there something wrong with me? What I should be doing that amazing thing or whatever it is. And so instead of just self-reflecting though, they'll smash that mirror and then attack you and come up with reasons to convince themselves why, well, they shouldn't feel insecure about this because this person is actually doing something wrong, or this person is doing this it's the whole, like, sometimes it's the privilege argument. It's like, well, this person has privilege, they're it's just luck of the draw that they're able to do this or they're in this position. It's not because they actually got there um, because of their own merits. It was just chance, and so we shouldn't be celebrating this. Whatever it is that you need to do as the toxic person to make yourself feel better. And usually it's not enough just to make yourself feel better. You have to go around and convince other people that you, the person that's doing something good, you're actually doing something wrong, or it shouldn't be applauded because of whatever reason. So I think that's the first thing. That's probably why most people uh, do that. So if you are doing something good, just keep doing that thing and don't let it get to you. That's most likely what's going on in these people's heads, right? The other thing, now this is probably going to come up more when you're doing something that's spiritual, like if you're in a new calling or something like that. But so we have these people that are struggling with the natural man, and the natural man is gets jealous very easily and wants to attack, and the natural man's all about the pecking order. Right. So you have the natural man, but then on the other side, you have Satan. and people that are more under the control of the natural man are also more under the control and influence of Satan. And so if you're doing something that's church related and spiritual, and you're trying to gather scattered Israel, you're trying to help people get on the covenant path and progress down the covenant path, then not only do you have other people's natural man to contend with, but then you also have Satan who is actively trying to work against the work of salvation, right? And so it's uncomfortable. It can make it so that you don't want to continue, right? Because you don't like the opposition, and then even worse, you can get this like cognitive dissonance where you know that you're doing something good, but then Satan and these people, they can get inside your mind and start making you like double guess yourself, even though you know that you're doing something good. They can make you double guess yourself and be like, you know what? Are they right? Am I doing something wrong? Am I doing this in the wrong way? Am I not being Christ-like enough? Am I, whatever the argument is that they're leveling against you? Because a lot of times Satan can't just like, I mean, he can just attack you outright and try to get you to stop what you're doing. But usually that's not very effective. It's obvious. And so, you just stand up to it. It's like, oh, I know what's going on here, Satan. You're attacking me. But if he can get around, to the side and insert these like kind of like do these like kind of Trojan horse type attacks where it's not obvious that it's Satan that's that it's attacking you. They're portraying them. The person is portraying themselves as somebody that is like, no, I'm a member of the church and I'm on your side. But is what you're doing, is it right? Like, are you doing it the right way? Because I would do it like this, or I would actually just stop and like, whatever it is. I know I'm talking very abstractly, but hopefully you're following what I'm saying. Um, maybe one good way to portray what I'm trying to say is the story of Christ when he was healing somebody on the Sabbath, and here come the rabbis or whoever it was. I can't remember the specifics of the story. It was probably Pharisees, but who knows? Here comes along somebody that's like, well, master, is it lawful to bless somebody on the Sabbath? Ugh. And it's of course it's lawful. Of course it's okay. You know, here you have these like spiritually dead people that they don't care about the spirit of the law. They're dead. They look at the letter of the law and they're not true anything. You know, they're born into this culture, a Jewish culture, and they're like, well, how do I succeed? How do I get attention and power and influence? Oh, I need to really know the law is really good, and that's how I can stand out in society. And so when you have Christ come along who, gets this following of disciples, and he really understands the law because he's the one that gave the law, and he understands it better than they do. Well, that's going to be a problem for them because Christ is taking away the attention from these Pharisees, or scribes or doctors of law or whoever it is, the Sadducees. He's taking attention away from them. And not only that, he understands the law better than they do. And so, being insecure and wanting to maintain their power and influence, they have to do something about it. So, at that point in time, I guess they couldn't just like go and kill him or like just attack them. I'm sure that they wanted to just like attack him, um, maybe fight him. The more effective way at that time was for them to, make it seem like he was doing something wrong. You know, like, oh well, we know the law, master, and uh, if you think about it, is it lawful to do something good on the Sabbath? Like, are you breaking the Sabbath? And you have these people nowadays too. You're obviously doing something good, but they'll think of some like what they think is like a loophole or something and then try and make you feel bad about doing that good thing. So, okay, let's take a look at the chat. Betty Horn says, I'll have to leave in 10 minutes. We're feeding the missionaries. Well, that's fine, Betty. That's fine. Say hi to the missionaries for me. I got to go pretty soon, too. We just got this new car. And when I say new car, it's a 2003 Chrysler Pacifica. We have to go buy some stuff for it. But it only has 160,000 miles on it, amazingly. So hopefully it'll last us a while. Eva says hello from Utah. Mindy from Temples of Jesus channel winks at Betty and says, "You're so nice, Betty." Everyone make sure to subscribe to Mindy with Temples of Jesus. Anyway, does that make sense? Does it make sense what I'm saying about why people would attack you when you're doing something good? And it happens all the time. It even happens when you're not doing something good necessarily. Just when you're succeeding at something good or bad, then you're going to make somebody else feel insecure. And then they have to try and soothe themselves by possibly telling lies or get you to think that you're doing something wrong. They have to rain on your parade, essentially. Right. So Jojo Lulu, I love how you keep things scriptural and from the prophets and apostles. Thank you. Yeah, I try my best. I feel like that's what we need to do. I think sometimes we go off into the weeds. We go off into our own ideas and theories, and then start teaching those things like it's truth. And I think that's pretty dangerous because you're probably wrong. Let's just stick to what the prophets and apostles say. Um, both now and from the time of Christ and all the prophets before Christ, and take it all in as a whole and stay with the mainstream of the church. You can't go wrong by doing that. Mardi Gras says, tradition is something the Savior mentioned as a stumbling block. Yeah, I think it depends on the tradition. I mean, if it's truth, it's truth. But I think that at that point, the Jews had a tradition of interpreting the scriptures in a certain way, in a very dead way. And so those traditions are not good. And then you have, I know that there's like been different things in like different issues in different uh, countries throughout the world, like with the church. Like you'll have certain cultures that have certain traditions. Like it could be like a drink that culture, you know, that drink is like a big deal, but it goes against the word of wisdom or whatever. Ryan Lythgo says, "What does it mean? No good deed goes unpunished. I would never ever associate good deeds with punishment. No disrespect intended by this question." Well, that's pretty disrespectful, Brian. Here I am trying to do a good chat, and here you come questioning me in front of everybody. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. What it means is it's those times where you're trying to do something good. Say that you're the new Relief Society president, and you feel inspired and you have like this new way that you want to do things, or you want to like maybe do more than what has been done up to this point. You want to meet with more of the sisters personally or something like that. And then here comes somebody uh, that rains on your parade, and they say something like, you shouldn't, you're micromanaging. Like you shouldn't be meeting with so many of the sisters. Just like let them have their agency, or like something like that. You're doing a good deed. You're clearly doing something that's good, but then somebody gets butthurt and it makes them feel bad. And so they have to like make you feel bad too. That's what it means. Blue Beetle, the idea of paying a price for good deeds is something I just learned, and it is life altering stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I guess like another thing related to it is like when you're speaking truth and then people get mad. In the Book of Mormon, it talks about the fact that the truth cuts the wicked to the core. So if you're living wickedly and you're confronted with truth, you know it's truth and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change truth. You can be delusional and try and trick yourself and others into thinking that what you're doing is right, but the truth is the truth and it cuts to the core. And so when you speak truth, when you talk about the principles of the gospel, you're not trying to cause contention. You're trying to preach the gospel. You're trying to help others become more like Christ. But not everybody wants to do that. Um, there are people that rebel and they don't like what you have to say. It makes them feel bad. And so that's another time when you're trying to do something good and then you're punished, someone will fight you when you're not trying to fight, you're just trying to be a light. You're trying to let your light shine. Nathan Greer, Ryan L. Is your first language not English? This is a very common expression here in the US, meaning sometimes doing good goes wrong. Yeah, that could be. Maybe that's like not a maybe there's no equivalent phrase in some other languages. Latter Day Dad, um, let's see, what is this? Member for 3 months. Oh, okay. So it like highlights you if you're okay, okay. Thankfully, none of us is dealing with the level of opposition that Mormon and later Moroni dealt with, nor will we. Glad to be among the believers. Yeah, yeah, that's true. It must have been awful. Just your whole civilization becomes wicked and then gets annihilated. Yeah. But I think sometimes you can kind of feel that way when you're in a hostile environment, if you're at work or even in your own ward and it feels like a lot of people are like hostile toward you. I think we have to remember, we're all mixed together still, the wheat and the tares. And it'd be so interesting if there was a way to put together a spreadsheet, you know, to track every single ward of the church and see the proportion of wheat to tares. Um, and I'm not suggesting that anyone try and do this because we can't judge a person's heart. Only God can do that. But if we had some kind of reliable report from the Holy Ghost and it was in spreadsheet form and we could see all the wards in the church, I mean, there could be some wards out there where it's like 90% tears for all you know. It's going to be really interesting after this life when we look back and see uh, the truth of everything that we went through, everything that we didn't know at the time. And you might find that you were in a ward where it was like 90% tears. And that's why it was such an awful time and you did your best. If maybe you felt judged or maybe you're trying to do something good, but then everybody in the ward criticizes you. And I'm not saying that this is happening in my ward. I'm just saying hypothetically, I'm sure that there's probably some ward out there where you have a high percentage of tears. And then conversely, there's probably wards out there where it's like 90% wheat, maybe 100% wheat. And then Latter Day Dad says, "Thank you for your sacrifice and helping others to feel like they aren't alone. We need it both in person and online." Thank you. Yeah, I feel like doing this channel and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. I think that it's needed. I know that it's needed because the church thinks that it's needed, especially Elder Bednar. It was 10 years ago. He gave a talk where he talked about the need to flood social media with the gospel. Um, anyway, yeah, and yeah, I guess that's all I should say, but it is needed. So if anyone's feeling like they should do a YouTube channel or TikTok or something, if you're feeling it, then do it and stick with it. I know the church in particular is really interested in TikTok because that's where a lot of the youth are. TikTok is a filthy, filthy, filthy place. When it comes to like receiving toxic comments from people, I would say the worst place that I've experienced is TikTok. Um, with TikTok, it's usually from people outside of our church or people that are that used to be members of the church. So there's a lot of attacks from that crowd. But just generally speaking, there's more attacks on TikTok. And then after that, I would say probably YouTube would come in second place. Um, but it seems like it's mostly members of the church. Sometimes, like, you have people that stumble across your channel that are from outside the church, and they'll say their thing, but usually the toxicity comes from members of the church. If they're portraying themselves accurately, there could be people that are trolling that claim to be members of the church, but they're actually from, like, Community of Christ, or they could be uh, someone that's left the church. So it's hard to tell. And then after that, I would say Facebook, and then after that, Instagram is probably the best when it comes to not dealing with toxic comments and stuff. Let's see. The haystack has been difficult to do good. I've lost everything the okay, what? I've lost everything the world can offer, but all that God has given me has increased. I just feel incompatible sometimes. Well, yeah, doing good it's not easy. For one thing, it takes effort. Going back to the whole natural man thing, the natural man takes the path of the least resistance, because ultimately the natural man is a dead thing. It's our bodies. It's you know, um this suit for our spirits. It's a dead thing. It's not alive really without the spirit. And so the way of the natural man is evil, typically. I mean, not completely, because, like, you have to eat, but the natural man is more inclined to, like, overindulge. And so when you go to that extreme, if you don't put limits on it, then it's evil. Um, so the natural man is the way of the path of the least resistance. In doing good is the opposite. It's hard. Usually things that are good are hard, like asking for forgiveness and admitting that you did something wrong. That's not easy. The natural man just wants to pretend like it never happened, and turn it around on you, and, like, no, actually you're the one that did something wrong. So it's hard to admit when you do something wrong. It hurts. Um, but that's just how it is. Going on a mission is not easy. It's difficult, but it's rewarding. You know, Going to somebody's house when it's a weekend and you're ready just to enjoy the weekend, and it's nighttime, but somebody needs a blessing, and so you go give them a blessing. It's not easy, but it's worth it. I remember one time, President Oaks. This was before he was president, or sorry, President Holland, but this was back when he was just a member of the Quorum of the 12, not president of the Quorum of the 12. He was talking about Christ and how he I wish I remember exactly how he said it, but he was like, it wasn't easy for Christ, so why would it be easy for you? It's not easy. This life's not easy. It takes effort to do good. And then on top of that, when you do good, you have all these other natural man people around you that want to bring you down. It's not easy. That's not all directed at you, Haystack, by the way. Hopefully you realize I was speaking in general. Brandon Porter, Second Nephi 2:11, for it must needs be that there is an opposition in all things. Yep. Latter Day Dad says, I remember a talk by then Elder Oak speaking about the numbers of wheat to tares was possibly literal as it relates to the 5 wise versus 5 foolish virgins. Yeah. Yes. The talk that you're referring to, I think we're thinking about the same talk. It was from 2004. Um, Down H. Oaks, Second Coming. I think it was preparing or preparation for the preparation for the second coming. I've shared this on the channel before, but even before I started this channel, when he said this, it just like stuck in my mind. So he talks about the parable of the 5 virgins or the 10 virgins. And then he says, the arithmetic of this parable is chilling. The 10 virgins obviously represent members of Christ's church, for all were invited to the wedding feast, and all knew what was required to be admitted when the bridegroom came. But only half were ready when he came. I'll put the link for that. I'll put it in the chat if you want to check it out. That talk, I think, was a very significant talk. Just in case you're new, just in case you haven't heard it before, I think it was a significant talk because he listed the signs of the times. Like he did like a bullet point list. These are the signs of the times. And he talked about the sea heaving itself beyond its bounds. And then that same year, the day after Christmas, he had this earthquake and tsunami in Indonesia that killed over 200,000 people. And it's been a while since we've looked at my spreadsheets where I'm like tracking deaths from earthquakes and tsunamis, but that was a lot. Like that's a very large number for an earthquake or tsunami. And this year it's been 20 years since he gave that talk, and I feel like that's significant. There's more that I can say about it, but especially if he becomes president of the church, if like he's the prophet of the second coming, I feel like he makes that talk even more significant. I feel like that was a landmark talk. Driz T, our daughter is currently serving in Nauvoo, and she has experienced firsthand what you're talking about here. Yeah. I mean, we all do at one point or another. It's, I think, if you're here on planet Earth, it is going to happen to you. It's going to happen. Elder Bednar, on True Millennials channel, he did an interview with True Millennial, and then one of the guys from Scripture Central. I think he's like the main guy over like the Spanish account, and then the girl in the middle, I don't know who she is, but anyway, it was a really good interview. Elder Bednar was talking all about social media and sharing the gospel on social media. And he was talking about the fact that, as long as you're grounded, like what you're saying is true, you're basing it off of scriptures and the words of the prophets, and you're not like going off into speculation land, then you will still have negative comments, but it has nothing to do with you. Just make sure that you're grounded and you're good. I mean, look at them. They get attacked all the time. I see some of the ugliest things said about President Nelson or Joseph Fielding Smith, or pick a prophet or an apostle. Like I was saying before, TikTok is the worst when it comes to that. And it's kind of funny because you see people parrot the same things. You can tell that what they're parroting comes from one source, some anti-church podcaster or something. But yeah, there's been some like really bad things said about them, and they all speak in such a dignified way, so Christ-like, so level-headed, so grounded. You look at their talks, any given general authority or general officer of the church, and they don't just like say stuff that's off of the top of their head like what I'm doing right now. Although okay, what? So you look at their talks and they all have footnotes. They do a lot of research. It's not just like out of nowhere, but they say things in a very civil, level-headed, Christ-like way, and you still have people that go off the rails at what they say. There's no avoiding it until the celestial kingdom. It's going to get better in the millennium. I think it's going to get way, way, way better, but At that point, there's still going to be wickedness of a terrestrial kind where people just simply don't embrace the gospel, have differences of opinion when it comes to religious matters, but it will get better, I'm sure. I'll probably need to take off in just a minute here. Um, Carrie Goodman, hi from SoCal. So grateful President Trump just asked us to pray for our nation and people as we prepare for this momentous occasion of our 250th celebration of our nation. Yeah, I may actually do a video about that. Again, not for political reasons, but I think that's significant. Somebody had sent me an email about this 250th celebration and how they want to do like a big fair, um, something similar to like a world fair, not a world fair, but ever since I think it was last year, like we watched all the Marvel movies and all the series and stuff. And I know there's so much not good stuff in there, but whatever. We can't just like not watch movies, not read books, not consume any entertainment. Um anyway, we were watching the series Loki on Disney Plus, and there's one episode, the name of which is 1893, and that was the year that the World Fair was in Chicago, and the plot of that episode centered around that. But that was also the year that the Salt Lake Temple was dedicated, and these Marvel movies, I mean, I would have to do like a completely separate channel to like go through how I feel like they are like very specifically against our church. And I'm not talking about like the directors and the writers consciously trying to attack our church. I'm talking about the adversary using these movies as a vehicle to fight against the church, specifically our church. And I could give you many examples, but that's just one of them. Because Loki, he's essentially like the devil figure in Thor. Um, and there's this whole thing with 1893. I can't get into it here. There's too much to say, and it would go too far outside the scope of my channel. Maybe I'll do it for members only. I haven't done any members only videos for a while. I would like to do more. Maybe that's something that I could cover. Um, where? Okay. Benjamin Howard, 18. Okay, Benjamin Howard 18. Is that the name? Okay. If the world hate you, you know that. Oh no, this is like a verse. Okay, verse 18. If the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. Verse 19. If ye were of the world would love his own. That's true. That's true. So I don't know. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. If you if you feel like persecution and like people are trying to, they're pulling a Pharisee thing where it's like, Master, is it lawful to bless someone on the Sabbath? If they're like doing that, just recognize it for what it is. No real person, no person with a heart and with the spirit would make a stupid argument like that. They wouldn't, because they understand both the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Okay. Well, that's going to be it for this one. So hopefully tomorrow I can get back to it. Um, the scripture citation index has been updated with the October 2024 General Conference talks. And so today I was going to record that video. I may do it later and then publish it tomorrow. But I have my spreadsheet called Timeline Phrase Tracker updated. And there's some really interesting things to share with you. Um, really interesting things. Things having to do, let me just give you a quick preview. So I took the words and phrases that stuck out the most, where there was like an update from this conference. I highlighted the ones that I felt were the most significant, and then I clumped them together into categories. So one has to do with um, like talking about Christ's kingship, his kingdom, um, his government during the millennium. That's like one category. The other category is timing of the second coming, where when you look at these words and phrases, I'm looking at the screen right now. I can't put it up on the screen. I'm not using OBS. I'm just using YouTube's live thing. But so the second category has to do with the timing of the second coming. And when you look at these words and phrases, it's pretty clear. It's pretty dang clear that it's soon. The next category, category 3, is basically like like inviting, urging, promising, pleading with members of the church um, about certain things. Like there's a lot of like, brothers and sisters, please, I urge you, please do this. I promise you, stuff like that. And then the next category has to do with, kind of like what we're talking about in this live stream, attacks from the adversary, persecution, but also on the flip side and in the same category, like overcoming that and your spiritual foundation and things like that. And then a couple more things. So it's gonna be a good video. I'm excited for it. Okay. Well, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Don't let people get you down if they are. Just recognize them for what they are and just keep doing what you know is right, and pray and listen to the spirit. Don't listen to them, and go to people that you can actually trust, people that you know also are under the influence of the spirit and are genuine in that, love you, and they're not being passive aggressive against you. um that's probably one of the biggest tells, is like when people are coming against you, are they doing it with love and patience, or does it feel like they're angry at you? That's probably like the first red flag. It's like, it seems like this person is more angry at me than they are lovingly concerned, or whatever. Okay, guys, have a good rest of your night. I love you all. Talk to you later.